This is a very hot topic in the past, I would say 5-6 years, because whatever the condo price you bought before 5-6 years ago, the price is pretty low. With increasing price per square foot, a lot of people would like to cash out, and some people may have a difficulty to get a mortgage on real final closing. So assignment sale is quite popular in the market today. As a salesperson, how do we handle the listing side if we bought the condo for client before they want to do assignment sale? If we have a customer who want to buy a assignment sale, what documentation, what the process we need to go through? So without any delay, let us welcome Scott to give us the presentation, and then I hope that everyone hold your questions, and the presentation will not be too long, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. And then I would ask everyone to prepare a question in the chat room. At the end of this seminar, you can also turn on your microphone to free speak about your question. Scott, your turn.
Okay, thanks, Tony. So for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Scott, as Tony mentioned. I'm the Director of Pre-Construction Sales and Marketing here at the office. I'm also the Corporate Legal Counsel. So just briefly on my background, I worked for several years in commercial real estate law at Fasken. And before that, I was licensed since 2012 as a real estate broker. So yeah, so happy to talk about the assignment of new homes today. So I want to keep this, maybe around 30 minutes and leave the rest of the time for questions. I'm sure there will be lots of questions. So let's start. Let me share my screen first. So I think, when you're dealing with assignments, it's important to know where do you get assignment deals, and more importantly, what is an assignment. So for assignment deals, there's a couple of resources you can go to find these deals. So I'm showing here our office website. You can actually go to, there's a link for assignment deals through our office. So, that's obviously one of the big advantages of being at Home Life Landmark is we have access to our own agents' list of assignment deals. So this is a great resource. Another resource is on MLS. Sometimes what agents will do is they will list an assignment deal and quickly basically terminate it or suspend it, because the reason is a lot of builders don't like to see their projects being sold through assignment on MLS. They're giving you these incentives, they're giving you access. They don't want to see buyers assigning them. But for whatever reason, a lot of, sometimes your client might need to assign a deal to someone else. So another way to find these deals is through MLS. If you search suspended or terminated listings, you may be able to find assignment deals. And a lot of the times, you can also go to social media, Kijiji. Sometimes a lot of agents will post these assignment deals. So another good resource. And so I think another thing to keep in mind is when you're dealing with assignments, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the deal? So what that means is, do I have the builder's consent to assign this deal? So whether you're the buyer's agent or the seller's agent, you have to figure out first, can this deal be assigned? Because you can only assign what you own. So when you buy new construction, you own an interest in this specific unit. You basically own the piece of paper. So you can only assign it if the builder provides consent. And I would say most builders will require consent, and they will have their own set of requirements in order for you to be able to assign to a new buyer. So second question I think we get a lot is, how do I find assignment APS and Schedule A? So you can go to our website. If you go to Agent Login Resource Center, You'll log in. And under Resource Center, if you just scroll down right here where it says assignment. And at the bottom, you will see we have a standard set of the APS, Schedule A, and some of the other documents you will need. So generally, if you're dealing with assignment of a new condominium, you're going to be using Form 150. So this is the form right here. I'll pull it up. And we'll talk about this in a bit. If you're dealing with assignment of freehold, you're going to be using Form 145. But I would note that most freehold homes you cannot assign. It's just the nature of it. You have to ask the builders to see if that's possible. Generally, we are talking about assignment of condominiums. So that's going to be the focus today. And so for this, for this training, I'm going to be speaking from both the buyer and the seller side. So when I say buyer, I mean the assignee under an assignment, and the seller is obviously the assignor. So let me take you to the standard form assignment agreement. So you see here, this is Form 150 for a condominium. And I just filled this out very, very simply, just some basic details. And I just want to cover some of the major key issues. I'm not going to discuss every line in this APS. I'm just going to talk about the major issues. So you see here, purchase price is $650,000. Deposit is $32,500, so 5%. So here I want to note, when you're preparing an offer, if you're acting for the assignee, the buyer, you want to make sure that your deposit is large enough for your commission to be paid out, because at the end of the day, you want to get paid, right? So a lot of the times I've seen, deposit of $10,000. But if you're dealing with a $1 million condo, and say, the total commission is 3%, 4%, even 5%, obviously your deposit is not enough to pay out the commission. So you want to make sure your deposit is large enough, is appropriate for the deal, and because, ultimately you do want to get paid. So the next part, you see here, there's schedules A, B, and C. So generally, Schedule A is where you have all of your clauses, just like a regular resale agreement. That's where you have your conditions and all of your clauses. And I'm going to cover that in a bit. Schedule B is where you set out how the payments are calculated. And Schedule C is you're going to attach a copy of the original purchase agreement between the seller and the builder. So that's important because if you're assigning the agreement, you want it to be a part of this document. So it's important to ask the selling agent for a copy of the purchase agreement. Once you're preparing this deal and you've gotten this offer signed, fully signed, you want to attach the original purchase agreement as Schedule C. So another thing I want to note here is this APS, a big difference between your normal, Form 100 for resale is there is no completion date. So I don't know if a lot of you have noticed that, but that completion date is going to be set out in your Schedule A. So another reason why Schedule A is very important. So another issue is HST, and I think a lot of agents have maybe questions from their clients, and sometimes it's not easy to answer because every client is different. So HST we're going to talk about in a little bit. Let me take you now to the Schedule A. So we've just updated our standard form Schedule A, and it's it's pretty complete and robust. It doesn't really change depending on what kind of deal you're working on. So let's take a step back. So when you're preparing an assignment, there's a couple of dates you want to be aware of. So there is the date of the offer that you're submitting. There is the occupancy date, and sometimes that's not set by the builder yet because it's kind of up in the air. There's also the final closing date. So that's the date that the unit will actually transfer to the new purchaser. So title transfer date. The other date is the closing date of this assignment agreement. So this date could be either before the occupancy date or after occupancy, right? Because it really depends. If I'm a seller and I've not taken occupancy yet, I can assign the transaction to a new purchaser. Or I've already taken possession and I still want to assign it to a new buyer. And a lot of this will depend on the builder. So a lot of builders don't allow you to do assignments unless it's 1 to 2 months before or after occupancy. So again, you have to find out if the builder allows assignment, whether they will provide consent, and what their requirements will be for the assignment. So looking down, I think a big condition or big clause you want to note here is number 7, right? So vendor's consent conditions. So basically this agreement is conditional on the assignor obtaining the builder's consent to the assignment. So usually, once the builder's consent has been obtained, usually the closing date for this assignment agreement, you can usually set that for a couple of days after getting the builder's consent. It really depends on the deal. So moving on, the other thing you need to note is the assignment fee. So a lot of builders will require payment of say $5,000, $10,000 in order for them to give you consent. As the assignee's agent, you want to make sure that the assignor is paying for the assignment fee, and that includes payment of the vendor's lawyer fees in connection with the assignment. So usually that's about 15,000, I would say, just for the vendor's lawyer's fees. Sometimes builders will include that fee as part of the overall assignment fee. So it's important for you to, as a buyer's agent, to make sure that you're protecting your client, right? You want to make sure that all of these amounts are clearly spelled out in the agreement. So on the next page, we have the lawyer's approval condition and financing. So here we have a lawyer's approval condition for both the assignor and the assignee. So whether you're working for the assignor or the assignee, you want to make sure that your client gets the right legal advice, because assignment deals, I would say, can be quite complicated because of all of the money that's changing hands, different dates, HST and tax considerations. You generally will need a lawyer to close on an assignment deal. So this is why we are including the conditions here. The new buyer will also have to arrange satisfactory refinancing. So this is usually also a condition of a builder providing consent. They want to make sure that the new buyer can get satisfactory financing and be able to close on the deal on the final closing date. So I'm not going to go through every clause. I just want to kind of note the main ones. So clause 13 is PDI. So PDI means pre-delivery inspection. Basically what this means is prior to occupancy closing, which is when, so to take a step back, occupancy closing means you can physically move into the unit and live there, or you can rent it out. But the condominium unit has not, the title to the condo unit has not transferred to your name. And that's because builders need to register the entire condominium building as a condo plan. Then they can start transferring title to each individual unit owner. So that's final closing. So usually before occupancy closing, you will do a pre-delivery inspection where you go into the unit, you note down any deficiencies in the finishing, there's problems with the flooring. This is the time you will note it, and the builder will go and correct it. So if you're closing this assignment before taking possession of the property, then you need to make sure as the buyer agent to basically, get a copy of any documents the seller has obtained. And basically you and the seller are going to attend the PDI and take down, everything that's missing or needs to be repaired. And if the assignor has already completed the PDI, then as a buyer, you're going to make sure you're going to get a copy of that PDI checklist. And you want to make sure that before you close on the assignment, that all of those items are either fixed or the seller assignor is going to fix them, himself and provide you with basically, a move-in ready unit, right? So the next clause is dealing with payment schedule and obligations. And, when you first look at it, it's quite complicated, but it's really not. Maybe the easiest thing at this point is to take us to Schedule B. So as I mentioned earlier, Schedule B is basically where you set out all of the different amounts that are involved. So at the top here, number 1, this is the total purchase price. So this is not just the original purchase price, it's the purchase price of this assignment agreement. So I put here $650,000. You'll remember on page 1 of this assignment agreement, we had $650,000. Number 2 is the original purchase price. So we're assuming it's $500,000, and this will obviously be set out in the original purchase agreement with the builder. Number 3 is the deposits paid by the assignor to the seller. So this is the deposit that the seller paid under the original purchase agreement. So usually you'll see 15% to 20% of the purchase price. Here I've assumed it's going to be 15% of the 500,000. So that's why it's $75,000. Number 4. So number 4 is basically the difference between number 1 and number 2. So you see the difference is $150,000. So what this is the assignor's profit for doing this assignment. You can basically think of an assignment deal as having 2 components. One component is the original purchase price. The second component is the assignor's profit. Usually assigner is not going to sign a deal if they can't make a bit of money on the agreement, right? So number 4 is the profit component. Number 5 is the deposit paid under this assignment agreement. So that's on page 1 of this agreement. So remember I said usually deposits are 5%. So here I've assumed it's 5% of the total purchase price. So 5% of $650,000 is $32,500. So another, if you can do 5% deposit, you can basically know that your commission will be paid out from this deposit because, these days commissions are maybe 3-4%. So that's a good kind of rule of thumb you can use. And finally, number 6 is balance of payment for this assignment agreement. So number 6 is the difference between 4 and 5. So the balance of the payment is basically the balance of the assignor's profit from this assignment agreement. So there's actually another amount that's not listed here. And this is why Schedule B is not, 100% useful. So the amount I'm talking about is the difference between 2 and 3. So remember, the assignor has paid a deposit of, say, 15% of their purchase price. So that's $75,000. So what about the remaining $425,000? So obviously the assignee will pay that amount on final closing, right? Because whatever money, it's either the assignee is paying or the assignor is paying. So let me take you back to our Schedule A, Clause 14. So if you go through this yourself, and I highly encourage everyone after this seminar, take 15 minutes. Okay, you can squeeze out 15 minutes from your busy days. Go to our website, download Schedule A, or download this standard form Schedule A to the assignment agreement, and just go through it and see if you can understand, how these amounts work. So as I mentioned, 14A, this is the deposit that's set out on page 1 of the agreement. So it's that 5%, right? So this amount is going to be paid upon acceptance of this agreement. And if this agreement for some reason does not close, that deposit will be returned to the buyer without interest or deduction. So moving down, 14C, This is the $75,000 that was on Schedule B. So this is the original deposit that the seller paid to the builder. So as the buyer, you're going to have to pay this to the seller, right, in order to make the seller whole. So this amount is usually paid on the closing date of the assignment. So that can be before or after occupancy. So remember, we talked about that earlier. The next amount is the balance of the original purchase price, which is $425,000. So again, this is the amount that the buyer will have to pay to the builder because it hasn't been paid yet. And this is going to be paid on the final closing date. So when title to the unit transfers over to the buyer is going to pay this amount to the builder, and maybe part of this will be paid out through a first mortgage. So that's why it's very important for the assignee to make sure they get satisfactory financing. Now, the final amount is the balance of the assignor's profit. So this is number 6 on Schedule A. Remember the $117,000 and $500. So this is the balance of the assignor's profit. So remember, the profit I showed you is $150,000, right? And the buyer has already paid a deposit of $32,000. So the balance of 117, that's going to be paid on final closing. So I want to know here, I probably a lot of agents will say, well, if I'm acting for the assignor, I basically want to get paid as soon as possible. Why should I wait until the final closing date to get the balance of my profit? And of course, the answer to this question is it depends. It depends on the project you're working on, the parties, who has more negotiating power, why the assignor is selling. If you're acting for the assignee, the buyer, obviously you want to delay payment as late as possible. You haven't gotten title to the unit yet, so why should you have to pay the balance of the assignor's profit until final closing, right? If you're acting for the assignor, you want to get paid as soon as possible. So you would want to say, instead of putting here on the final closing date, you're going to want to change this to the closing date of this assignment date, of this assignment. As soon as this assignment closes, you want the assignee to pay you the balance of your profit. Generally, under an assignment, the assignor is not actually released until final closing. So this is why, on principle, it's probably more reasonable for this balance of the assignor's profit to be paid out on final closing. And part of the reason is this money, what you can do is have the assignee pay this money to the assignor's lawyer. And once the assignee has closed with the builder, then the assignor's lawyer will be able to release this to the assignor, because you want to make sure this money, the money flowing around, is not, paid out immediately, right? You don't want to pay the assignor until you've actually gotten title to the unit. So this is why this clause is actually, I would say, the key clause on this page. So again, make sure you look at this in detail. Discuss with your client, make sure they understand how all of these payments work. And at any time, if you have questions, definitely reach out to the managers. We're here to help. So the rest of these clauses, I don't know if I need to spend too much time. They're basically saying various representations and warranties about the agreement. Yeah, a lot of sort of more standard clauses. One clause I would note here that could cause some confusion is 25. So assigner and assignee agree that if closing adjustments with the builder exceed a certain amount of dollars, then this excess amount is going to be deducted from the balance due to the assigner. So this is referencing capital development levies, other charges that sometimes depends on final closing and receiving the final statement of adjustments to see what that amount is. A lot of new condo agreements, purchase and sale, will have a cap on development levies. So this clause is really to protect the assignee, because if the development levies exceed a certain threshold, you want to make sure that your client, the assignee, is only responsible for an amount up to say 20,000 or 15,000, and any excess is going to be the assignor's responsibility. So this is sort of our Schedule A. Schedule B, we've already talked about. So I think it's a good time now to, I think another issue that a lot of people have struggles with is HST. Tax is definitely not my favorite subject. Remember, I took us in the beginning to this clause on the page 2 of the assignment agreement, clause 6, HST. So for HST, I always want to simplify everything, right? HST, there's 2 aspects of HST. The first aspect is the HST that may be payable on the assignment transaction. So what I mean is the difference between the assignment purchase price and the original purchase price. That difference, there's likely going to be HST payable, because if you're acting for the assignor, the seller, they're going to fall under the definition of a builder under the Tax Act. So they're going to pay HST on that difference, on the profit that they're making. And so it's important to explain that to your client so that they're not, caught off guard on closing. Usually that's going to be treated as business income, because if you're assigning your new condominium deal for a profit, obviously you're making income, and obviously you do need to pay tax on that amount. So the second aspect of HST is the HST rebate. And I think tends to be a lot of confusion on the HST rebate because of how it works in today's market. So the government of Canada is trying to encourage builders to build homes for people, right? So they want to make sure that the market is strong and continues to grow. So that's why they provide this HST rebate for new homes. And usually if you're the buyer of a new home and you're looking to live in it yourself, then you're going to be eligible for the HST rebate. Now, the major difference is in today's market, the HST rebate is going to be assigned by the purchaser of the new condo to the builder. So even though you're eligible, that amount you're going to assign to the builder. And this will be spelled out in, I would say, most new home agreements these days, where that rebate is going to be directly assigned to the builder. And the amount of that rebate is $24,000, because basically if the purchase price is over $400,000, the rebate is capped at $24,000. 10 years ago, maybe the rebate was a bit less or a bit more, because a lot of homes, maybe they were selling for $300,000, but these days you won't be able to find a studio condo for less than $400,000. So that's why the amount of the rebate is $24,000. And because it's assigned to the builder, on your statement of adjustments, you're going to see a credit in favor of the builder for that $24,000. So, whether you are buying a new home for yourself or as an investment, that, that rebate amount, it's basically assigned to the builder in either case. Now, if you're buying a new home for investment purposes, and you've told the builder this, basically obviously if you're not living in the home yourself, you don't qualify for the HST rebate. What you do qualify is for the HST rental property rebate. And I think that's why a lot of people get confused, is because they confuse the 2 rebates. There's actually 2. So the HST rental property rebate is the same amount, $24,000, and you can apply for it if you're going to be renting out your new home after closing. The big difference is if you're buying a new home for investment, the builder is not going to credit you with $24,000. They're going to add $24,000 on final closing to your statement of adjustments. So you need to make sure your client knows this, so they're not in for a big surprise. Having said that, once you have closed, you can apply to the government yourself for the $24,000 rental property rebate. So basically either way, whether you're buying for investment purposes or living in the new home yourself, you're going to get the benefit of the $24,000. So that's the main, I would say that's the main takeaway. So I think that's really all the topics I wanted to cover. Maybe now is a good time to invite everyone on this call to ask questions. Anything you have seen before or you don't understand from what we just covered. I invite everyone to submit your questions. So I see a couple of questions in the chat. So yeah, this webinar is recorded. You will be able to access this afterwards. So a question from Ray is, how do we link assignment deals from office website to our own website? So should be fairly easy. Again, let me go back to our office website. You're gonna go to menu, listings, and assignment. So we update this pretty regularly. As you see, it's quite active. There's a lot of assignment deals out there. So that's one good way to find these deals. So does anyone have any questions?
Hello, can you just repeat that again? Because I was in a little bit late. So in the office menu, how do I go to the site?
Yeah, so on the homepage, right? On the top right corner, under menu, you're going to go to listings.
Okay, first I have to sign in, right?
So right now, what I'm talking about is just the assignment, the assignment listings. You don't have to sign in at all.
Oh, okay. Oh, menu. Okay, I got it. Okay, yeah.
Menu. So the reason why is because if you're trying to market an assignment deal, you want to get maximum exposure. So by posting it on this the public website, you can encourage other offices, other agents to see these deals and hopefully make the deal happen. So I think maybe the other part of your question is how to access the standard form Schedule A. So in menu, you go to agent login and then resource center login. And then you go to resource center, you scroll down, and here is assignment. Scroll down some more, and then you will see the list of assignment for condos and assignment for freeholds. We've updated the standard form for condominiums 150, 145. You're basically using the same form. There's really no big difference between an assignment of a condo versus an assignment of a freehold. I would say maybe the only difference is with condominium. Obviously, the unit is part of a condo, so you want to make sure you get the building name and address correctly. Yeah, so that's the big difference. Let's see, what other questions do we have? So I think Diana, I think I just answered your question. This is where you find Schedule A. Also, if you go on to web forms, let me just show you quickly. If you go to web forms and you go to your transactions, and when you add this form to your deal, and you go to Schedule A, so if the clause is not already there, you're gonna hit clause, office clauses, and once this loads, if it loads, it's you're gonna see the assignment, assignment clauses for condos and freeholds. So you can add this directly into your forms. So question from Brian, how much are builders lawyer fees on average for assignment deal? You know, it really depends. I would say maybe call it the standard fee is probably around 1,500, 1500. But sometimes you'll see the lawyer's fees is included in the builder's consent fee. The consent fee, it can range, you know, it can be $5,000, it can be $15,000, depending on the builder, the project, how popular it is. It really depends. So a question from Bernard, how does closing delay affect an assignment? Will an amendment be required? Short answer is yes, you're going to have to amend the agreement to deal with the closing delay. I'm not sure if this closing delay you're referring to the closing of the assignment deal or final closing. I'm gonna guess you're talking about final closing. You know, if the builder needs more time to do final closing, typically you're going to need an amendment, right? Just as with a regular resale, you want to adjust the date of closing, and obviously the amounts will also need to be adjusted. Again, I think that's just shows you why having lawyers you know, participate in the assignment transaction is very important, because they can make sure that, you know, if there's a delay or any other issues, they can be taken care of. So next question is about the HST rebate. Who guesses rebate? So the rebate, so it's the purchaser of a new home qualifies for the HST rebate. So if I'm the first purchaser of a new home and I buy from a builder, I qualify for the HST rebate. As soon as you want to assign that agreement to a new purchaser, you know, you're not going to qualify anymore, because the new buyer will qualify. So very important to explain this to your client, right? Because you don't want them to think, oh, I qualify, and then I signed it. Oh, I still qualify. Where's my $24,000? You won't get it if you assign your condo deal to a new purchaser. The new purchaser may qualify, and I say may because it really depends. You know, if the new purchaser is buying for investment, they're going to have to apply for the rental property rebate, which is different from the HST rebate. If they're going to live there themselves, you know, they may qualify, but the builder, because you've assigned the agreement now, the builder is not going to want to take on the liability of that HST rebate. So you may find on final closing in the statement of adjustments, if you assign the agreement to a new purchaser, the builder may add on the $24,000. So I would not, you know, I wouldn't worry about that, because you as the new purchaser, you can always apply for the HST rebate through the government. So even if the builder, you know, makes that change in the statement of adjustments, as long as you qualify, you can apply for it. So not a big concern, I would say, for most purchasers. Question from Sydney. Yeah, the clauses are posted on the Landmark website. I think I've covered that already. Samir asked, when does the builder give consent for assignment? Really depends. A lot of builders may take longer to give consent. Typically, they're going to have different requirements, right? They're going to want to see who is the assignee. They'll want to review. They'll want to get their name and their contact info, right? There may be some other requirements for a builder to give consent. For example, they might require the assignee to you know, provide payment for occupancy fees, or to provide interim closing insurance, or to register utilities in advance. Because, you know, as a builder, they want to make sure that whether, I think end of the day, builders don't care if you assign it or not, as long as they've, you know, sold 100% of the building, and as long as they get paid, right? So as the assignee, you do have to make sure you make the builder's life as easy as possible if you want to get that consent. So it's important to work directly with the assignor's agent, the seller's agent, and to work with the builder. So yeah. Should we hire an inspector to inspect the unit before closing? No, I mean, I think that's part of your pre-delivery inspection that you will do. You know, if you're closing the assignment after interim occupancy, you will want to get a copy of the PDI checklist, and you'll want to get a copy of the certificate of completion, you know, to protect yourself as the assignee. Oh, so one thing I want to mention here is Tarion. So Tarion runs with the property. So if you've assigned the agreement to a new purchaser, their new purchaser will get the benefit of the Tarion program, the Tarion warranty. Now, if you close on the assignment after occupancy, then you're going to want to find out if the seller has completed the 30-day form. And because you want to make sure that if there's any deficiencies in the unit, that you submit the proper forms to Tarion, right? Tarion, there's a 30-day form, there is a 1-year form and a 2-year form, and also a form for, you know, major structural issues. So you need to make sure that as the buyer's agent, you advise your client appropriately and make sure they are able to submit these forms whenever they're due. Let's see. Lots of questions. Does anyone want to ask a question, you know, not through the chat? I'm happy to talk about these things as opposed to just sort of more lecturing. Okay, let's see. Schedule A says deposit can be refunded. So Cherry, so that question, you know, that deposit is basically refunded if the assignment transaction does not close through no fault of the assignee. So if for whatever reason, let's say the assignor is not able to get the builder's consent, then obviously you will get your deposit back. You just might not get any interest. So that's just that part. Okay, so very good question from Brian. If you purchase a property for yourself but end up selling as an assignment because your living situation has changed, will you still be subject to HST? So remember, for HST, there's two components, right? There's the HST on your profit from the assignment. So usually that's going to be paid or payable regardless of your own situation as the assignor, because you're obviously making a profit from the assignment. So I would say HST is going to be payable 99.9% of the time. The HST rebate is going to depend on the assignee's you know, end use. Are they going to rent it out, or are they going to live in the unit themselves? Yeah, that will really depend on the circumstances. Are builders allowed to raise their assignment fees from the initial purchase price? I would say maybe, you know, if there's a cap on the assignment fee, or if it's directly set out in the original purchase agreement, I would say it may be difficult for the builder to do that, but you really never know, right? Because at the end of the day, you bought a unit from the builder, and you know, they can sort of ask you to sign an amendment. And when I say ask, they're more telling you to sign this. So I would say maybe this is rare, but I would say it could happen. You know, it really depends on the property, the project, and the builder. Okay, let's see. Can you explain the assignment closing date? Does that have to be the date of the builder closing date, or can it be an advance date? So the short answer is no. So remember, for the dates, there's really 3 dates you need to be aware of. First date is the closing date of the assignment transaction. So remember in Schedule A, in Clause 3, right? This agreement will be completed on assignment completion date. you can set this as a specific date. You can also set this, as of, let's say 5 business days after getting the builder's consent. So that's the first date you want to be aware of. When you close on the assignment transaction, there's a couple of payments that will have to be made. The second date is interim closing. So interim occupancy date. That's when you can physically move into the unit, but you usually will have to pay an occupancy fee to the builder. And the third date is final closing. So that's when title to the unit actually transfers over to the purchaser. So a couple of questions about HST. The HST rebate, how long does it take to get it back from the CRA? CRA is not going to be in a rush to pay you money, right? So depends. Maybe a couple months. It really depends. I would say a lot of buyers, assignee buyers, they forget to apply for the rental property rebate. So as an agent, you want to make sure, first you ask your client, are they going to live there themselves, or are they going to rent it out? You want to make sure that they do apply for that rebate if they qualify for it. A question from Nan. So yeah, so the HST rebate, it's not really deducted. I would say it's an adjustment on the statement of adjustment. So because the HST rebate generally has been assigned to the builder, you're not going to get a credit for that on the statement of adjustments. Because if you're assuming you're going to live in the property yourself, you've assigned the rebate amount to the builder. So you'll basically see, credit in favor of the builder for $24,000, and they have it's sort of included in the purchase price. But if you are buying a new property, not for your own use, you're going to rent it out as an investment, then the builder is most likely going to add $24,000 to the purchase price. And then what you're going to do is, after final closing, you're going to apply for the HST rental property rebate from the CRA. Okay, very, very good question from Ida. I hope everyone's paying attention. Does the assigner have to pay HST on the deposit that was paid to the builder as well? The answer is yes, because as the assigner, you put a deposit down, right, to buy this new home. You're also making a profit on the assignment deal. The HST is due on both the profit and on your deposit, because think of the deposit that you put down as your, let's think of it as your investment capital, right? You were only able to buy this new home, new condo, because you put a deposit down. So, and you've made a profit by assigning the deal to a new buyer. So that's why HST is payable. And I would say that's a very good, that's how you should explain it to your client. They might not understand why should I pay HST on my deposit? That's my own money. But you're only able to make profit on the assignment because you put down the deposit. So think of that, as part of your profit component. So, yeah, do you have a question? Okay, so another question is, if the builder goes bankrupt after the assignee takes over the agreement, is the assigner's profit, can the assigner keep the profit or return it to the assignee? I think if you've closed on the assignment transaction, and so, okay, let's step back. I think when you say the builder has gone bankrupt, you're saying that there is no final closing because, the building's not finished, title has not transferred. I think this situation, you're going to have to consult a lawyer, because very hard to say either way, who keeps the profit. As the assignee, if I haven't received title to my unit, why should the assignor keep the profit, right? So best to talk to a lawyer in that situation. So Sherry, just to confirm for everyone again, the HST applies to both the profit and the deposit you've paid. So let me repeat the explanation. As the assignor, you put a deposit down to buy the new home, right? Then you want to assign this deal to a new buyer, and you're making a profit. So everyone understands why HST is payable on the profit component, right? You're making a bit of money on the assignment. For the deposit component, you're only able to buy this new home because you've given the builder your deposit. So think of that as your investment. Let's say it's the same as if you use that money to buy stocks or any other investment. You're putting that capital down for the investment. So once you want to assign it and make a profit on it, that money is part of your original investment capital. So you do have to pay tax on it because without the deposit, you would have no agreement with the builder. The CRA is going to do their best to collect tax on everything. So that's why the deposit, there's HST on that component too. And no, it does not mean there's HST paid twice. It's not really twice because it's HST on the profit and HST on the deposit. Those two amounts are different. You're not paying duplicate tax. I don't want everyone to think that. So I think I've answered most questions here. I will share my contact info in the chat. If people have questions, feel free to contact me afterward. We have about 3 minutes left. I want to respect everyone's time. Does anyone have any questions? There's a question in Chinese. I can speak Chinese. I cannot read Chinese. So if someone can translate, I'm happy to answer it. Or if you want to.
Oh my God. You can speak Chinese, you cannot read Chinese, you are not a Chinese.
I cannot.
Okay, everyone, this is Tony Mao. I come back. 这个问题是虽然我们今天的 training 是用英文进行的，但是呢，欢迎大家用中文来问问题。我们公司的经理也会积极参与的回答你的问题。我把这个问题读一读，然后给大家说一说啊。我想问，房价里不是有13% 的 HST 了吗？转让楼花 deposit 要交13% 的，那等于 deposit 的 HST 付了2遍呀。
这个问题刚刚我用英文发过了。
发过了哦 ，OK。
但是我就是说那个13%的那个，因为你卖那个房价嘛，那个13%，你不管是 deposit 还是利润部分，你都要交。但是那个比如说你做生意，你开个 convenience store， 那个你不是要付那个就是消费者要付13% HST， 但是你进货的时候那个成本，比如说你买进来1块钱的一支笔，卖出去2块钱。那个买家要付这个2块2毛6，其中13%是 HST， 但是你成本是1块钱，你每年报税的时候，你可以把那个1块钱的那个税给退回来的，好像是。但是我不知道这个 deposit 你这样的付了2遍，你是不是可以退回来？就是那个你转让楼花的话，那个 deposit 你付了13%嘛，因为一部分是利润要付13%，一部分是 deposit 本身要付13%。那个本身的话，你付了13%，你是不是？这个年底报税的时候，你可以把这个退回来。你说这是你的你的成本嘛？你进货进的成本。
首先，我想问问您是哪一位？加尔尼。
对。
你是我们公司经理，你是哪一位啊？
我是蒂尼加尔。
我想知道你的real name。Anyway， so 我来回答这个问题吧，如果 Scott 不介意的话。首先呢，就是你去 Condo Project 买这个 Condo Unit 的时候，你付了15% 或者20% 的 down payment， 这里边你没有付 HST。Okay, so you pay the 15 to 20% of the purchase price on the condo unit to developer. You did not pay HST on the deposit. And 但是呢，你做 assignment sale 的时候，这个 15% 的 deposit 就是你进货的成本价，你用这个进货的成本价去帮你赚来了 profit。所以呢，最后 final price 呢，13% 呢是要加在你进货的成本价，也就是15%也好，20%的 deposit， 然后再加你的 profit。这个呢，可以用这个类似的方法来理解，但是呢，和你杂货店进货1块卖出去2块这个不太一样，因为进货1块你有付 HT， 可是在这里交 deposit 的时候，你并没有付 HT 给 build。但是我觉得就是说这个呢，更多也是这个 question 应该更多的 belong to assigner and assigner's accountant to answer。对于今天这个 topic 来讲呢，就是我们作为地产经纪，我们对 accounting 方面 tax 方面应该有一点知识，但是呢，我们不能越俎代办，因为这个税务问题是比较复杂的问题。我的理解是就这么多。就是如果是assigner他在报税的时候，我讲的是老老实实正正规规报税的话，那么就应该是他付了20%的 deposit， 然后他赚了比如说赚了10万块利润，那么20%的 deposit 加上这个10万利润，他都要付 HT 给 CRA。
那是那个 assignee 他最后买房子，就是最后他房子 close 的时候，他是不是那个前面那个 assigner 交过了那个20%的那个HST， 那 assignee 是不是就不用交了，只要交后面80%的那个13%？
OK， 那我用这个中文再给你解释一点，然后我用英文再说吧，就是说对于 assignee 来讲。Scott 刚才这个例子讲了，这个他assigner 买回来50万，卖给这个 assignee 是65万。对于 assignee 来讲 ，on closing 他付的价格就是65万，没有 HST 这一说。对于 assignee 来讲，他应该是一个 end user， 所以呢，他会就是付65万。如果这个 assignee 本身也是买回来做投资的，要租出去的，那么他同样也要付给开发商24000块钱的 rebate portion， 就是65万。至于这65万是给谁了？是给assignee 一部分钱，给这个 builder 一部分钱。总之呢，他付的钱是65万，然后再加上24000。
我知道，但是那个最终你说的他付了65万，但是其实里面包含了13%的那个 HST 啊，比如说50万块钱是从那个 builder 那边拿的价格，那这里面其实有13%了。
我觉得呢，这个 HST 呢将会是一个很难以让人理解的 topic， 但是呢，我用一句中文话给您解释吧。如果一个买家买这个 condo，he is going to use it as a personal use。Whatever the price on the contract will be the price he pay on closing。就是 offer 上是50万，在交割他就付50万，没有退税，也没有 extra 税要交。咱先把这句话停下来 stop 一下，理解。我的 offer 里面写的是50万，在交割的时候，我就给开发商50万的房价，没有 HT。所以买家我不需要给开发商付任何 HT， 开发商也不会退 HT 给我。 等于类似于说，我现在去 Best Buy 买一个电脑，5000块钱，到门口结账的时候，那么这个5000块钱，它是税前的，所以呢，我们买的地产在房价里面已经包括了 HST， 因为有 HST rebate 就非常考虑大家，所以呢，我们就用这一句话来简单说一下，就是 If I'm buying a condo for my personal use， 括号 I'm not going to rent out, then there's no HST rebate involved. Whatever the price on the contract, I'm going to pay to the builder. Period. 没了。If I'm buying a condo unit for rental purpose, then I'm not qualified for HST rebate. On closing, I'm going to pay $24,000 more to the builder. Period. Okay. So for those of not understanding Chinese, I'm sorry. I have speak a little bit Chinese. So basically, if you're buying a condo for your personal use, if yourself move in, if your family member move in, meaning you have not rented the unit or house out, you are not collecting rental income, then whatever the price on the contract with the builder, you pay the price. There's no extra money for you to pay HST. There's no extra HST rebate from builder. No HST payable, no HST rebate. Only if you're buying a unit for investment, meaning you rent the unit out, then that disqualifies the purchaser of HST rebate. Then on closing, you pay the purchase price on the contract plus 24,000 HST rebate. For the purpose of our training today, for the purpose of our office agent understanding, we just needed to memorize. Why, how, I can discuss with you face-to-face one by one. And then because this is lots of wording, lots of terms there, and then it's not easy for you to understand over the Zoom. So personal use, no HST rebate, no extra payable to the builder. Whatever the price on the contract, you pay the price to the builder, period. If you're buying a property for rental, and then you pay 24,000 extra rebate portion to builder, period. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just add, you know, if you're buying a new home for rental property for investment purposes, as Honi said, on final closing, you will pay the builder $24,000 more, but you can then apply for the HST rental property rebate to get the $24,000 back. Because end of the day, you know, you should not be penalized for buying a new home for rental property and purposes, right? So that's why the government provides that rebate for rental property, but that's only after final closing. There's a question from Sherry I wanted to answer too, if the entire assignment price would qualify for a mortgage or just the original purchase price. So I would say usually yes, but you know, if your assignment purchase price is, let's say it exceeds the original purchase price by, let's say $300,000, you know, that might make it more difficult for a bank to qualify you for the mortgage, because you know what the key term here is, what's market value, right? If you bought a property on assignment and you know, you're paying $200,000 over the original purchase price, you can say that's market price because that's what you're paying. The question of whether you will qualify for a mortgage, it also depends on your income, your credit history. So there's more there. it depends on more things than just the assignment purchase price. So I would suggest you tell your client to talk to their mortgage advisor to make sure that whatever price they're paying for the assignment, their mortgage will still qualify and they can close. And clearly getting satisfactory financing is a condition to getting the builder's consent. So you're going to have to get some sort of mortgage approval letter, and provide that to the builder. And I'm talking about the assignee right now. The $24,000, yeah, it's the maximum amount of the rebate. And because these days, a studio condo is probably selling for $500,000. So basically anything over $400,000, the rebate is going to be capped at $24,000. So just remember it's $24,000 because it's very unlikely you're going to do an assignment for something under $400,000. So yeah, probably most cases it will be $24,000. Do we have any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, let's leave it at that. If you have any other questions afterward, feel free to contact me, myself, Sammy, Tony. All the managers are here to help. And then again, maybe I will just refresh everyone's memory. The assignment standard forms you can find on our website. The assignment deals you will find on the listing page, also on our website. I would say maybe in conclusion, assignments can be very complicated, but I think very doable, just like learning how to do a regular resale transaction. Once you've done a couple, you will be an expert on assignments. So yeah, good, just to get practice, do those deals. And when you are doing, Schedule A, I would say definitely reach out to one of the managers. We can help you draft those clauses and get the deal done. So thank you, everyone. Looking forward to meeting at the next trading session. Thank you.
Thank you.